Distinguished Teacher Awards Committee, distinguished teachers, Mrs. Waters and members of the Board of Education, Dr. Leverett, and distinguished guests. It is our sincere pleasure to host today's ceremony, a ceremony that's so well received and looked forward to by every member of the Greenwich Public School community. Today is an opportunity to honor 6 educators who exemplify excellence in education. Their deep commitment and dedication to inspire students and contribute to the school community is recognized and celebrated today. They represent a higher standard that each teacher strives to achieve each and every day they touch the lives of their students. In their honor, we'd like to begin today's program with a few selections performed by the Greenwich Public Schools Honor Choir under the co-direction of Ms. Chris Powers and Ms. Robin Chanel.
Rock my soul in the bosom of
you, Chris, Robin, and boys and girls. You were lovely. I'd like to now introduce Mr. Donald Rothstein, Chairman of the Distinguished Teachers Award Committee.
Thank you, Jerry. And again, a sincere thanks to the Honors Choir and their co-directors, Chris and Robin. We're sorry the choir didn't make it to Toronto, but we certainly are glad that they came to join us today. Thank you also to Coscom School and Jerry Patrizzi for making this beautiful facility available to us once again. I had to strike a deal with Jerry in order to get here, and that was I would not mention the age of my daughter because Jerry had her in kindergarten. So I said I won't do that. But I do want Jerry to know that Wendy is married. She and her husband Dan Ross have bought a house in Coscot, and they're going to have a baby in July. So we're back. I shall pass through this world but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do, let me do it now. Let me not defer it or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. I don't know if our award winners have read those words of Stephen Gurley, but as you will see in a moment, they have certainly lived them. And the same can be said for all of those who were nominated, and all of the hard work put forth by those who nominated them. Good afternoon. I'm Don Rothstein, and I've had the privilege of being the chairman of the Distinguished Teachers Committee this year. I'm also pleased to welcome our new superintendent of schools, Dr. Larry Leverett. Chairman of the Board of Education, Sandy Waters. State Senator Bill Nickerson. We've already had a chance to meet Jerry. I'm also pleased to recognize we have our entire board of selectmen here. First Selectman Dick Bergfester. We also have our state representative, Libby Floor. Was planning on being here, but she couldn't. And I also know that Dick Bergstresser has to leave a little early. She's here. Hello, Lyle. Dick Bergstresser has to leave a little early, but Jerry's already written him a note, so it's okay. And members of our Board of Education are here. Could they stand? Also, please allow me just to take a few moments to recognize other individuals who've been instrumental in this award program. First, a thank you to all of the donors who generously made contributions to the annual award and its accompanying stipend, and their names are listed in your program. Our committee, whose members are also in the program, is composed of 2 representatives each from the Board of Education, GOSA, which is the Greenwich Organization of School Administrators, GEA, the Greenwich Education Association, and the PTA, as well as 11 members of the community at large. The community has worked enthusiastically, diligently, and thoughtfully throughout the year. Would the committee members who are here please stand? And also, the committee has been cheerfully and efficiently supported by Kim Eves of our communications office. Kim, how are you? Did a great job. In 1984, the Distinguished Teachers Award was created to honor and celebrate the outstanding, dedicated, and multi-talented faculty of the Greenwich Public Schools. We are here to celebrate 6 teachers who have been an inspiration to their students and peers, who have set the highest standards of academic excellence for their students and for themselves, and who have eagerly reached out and gone the extra mile for their students, the parents, the school, and the community. Today, we also honor all of you who are part of the education profession. At this time, Senator Nickerson would like to offer his congratulations.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for inviting me, and on behalf of my friends, Libby Flora and Lyle Gibbons, who you've met, Dolly's not here, I do want to say a couple things. One, all Greenwich teachers are distinguished. They're distinguished because they meet the excellence, the commitment, and the quality that Greenwich has and demands, and I want to thank every one of them. I do want to say, secondly, that in my line of work, we pass a bill, it may not pass the next session, things come and go, and you're not sure how permanent you are. But for distinguished teachers, there never comes a time when the good that they do comes to an end. I once heard of a friend who had a very distinguished career himself and was asked by a reporter when he retired what were the influences in his life. He said, it was my elementary school teacher. So in your class, there's a student somewhere out there, maybe more than one, who's going to say 50 years from now, the most important thing in his early life was you. So thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, Senator. How can you not vote for that man? These 6 distinguished teachers, along with the award recipients of the past 18 years, represent a continuum of excellence and achievement of which we are all very proud. Will all the former award winners in the audience please stand? What a great alumni association. Now, let's meet our newest class. The nominators, who have promised to keep the rocks for only a minute, a difficult task given the caliber of our recipients, will be introducing the teachers. First, Lisa Harkness will introduce Donna Conway.
As anyone with children will attest, kindergarten is often more terrifying for the parents than it is for the children. Well, I must say, as someone who has had a child in Miss Conway's class, I was not only delighted to let my son go to school in the morning, I wanted to come along and experience the fun for myself as well. It was difficult for me to pass for 5 years old, but I did try. This afternoon, it is my pleasure to introduce and present to you a truly exceptional teacher, Miss Donna Conway. Donna's teaching philosophy can be summed up in a wonderful sentiment. Kindergarten should be like walking into a hug, and it is when you walk into her classroom. Seeing Donna with a spirited and enthusiastic group of 5-year-olds is truly inspiring. She kindles their creativity and sparks their intellects, all the while taking care of their skin knees and whatever else 18 kindergartners can throw her way. And as I have watched her students grow and learn during their year with her and after, I see children who have been inspired by Donna to try new things, to boldly rise to new challenges, and to never forget that they are part of a bigger community which needs their help. What more can we ask of a teacher, of a community member, of a friend? So it is with great pride and happiness that I get to present to you one of this year's distinguished teachers, Donna Conway, a wonderful teacher who every day wraps our young children in an embrace of warmth and love from that first time we let them go. Donna Conway.
If you spend any amount of time in my classroom, I think one phrase that you'll undoubtedly hear is, "You made my heart smile." And that's kind of a corny but very kindergarten-y way of explaining that feeling you get when you do something really wonderful. And one of my favorite things about my job is I get to see that a dozen times a day. Whether it's Allison reading a book for the first time, or Tyler publishing a story, and they feel it inside, or when Alec is comforting a friend, or Andrew's giving a compliment and they get the joy of passing that feeling along to somebody else. Even more so than teaching the curriculum, I think it's so important to teach them how to go out into the world and, like Lisa said, be a part of that bigger, caring community. And for me, I would feel successful as a teacher if I can give them the tools to not only love learning, but also to have smiling hearts and the desire to make other hearts smile. With this award, I feel as if that I am making a difference, and that perhaps I have made a few hearts smile along the way. So for that, I thank you truly. Today, it's my heart that's smiling. So thank you.
Next, Kathy Barnes will introduce Mark Epstein.
It's 6 o'clock when Mark Epstein enters Greenwich High School, armed with the essentials of his day. One worn briefcase filled with student essays and exams, one tiny breast pocket appointment book filled with the names of students who will meet with him before and after class, and one Stop and Shop bakery bag filled with 2 corn muffins he will never even touch. By 6:30, he is at full speed, greeting his bleary-eyed AP American History students as they arrive for a practice exam, encouraging a freshman nervous about an upcoming quiz, reteaching yesterday's lesson to a student who was absent, meeting with a student to go over an essay, joining a small group of students to discuss a course reading, reviewing with a student each and every choice for each and every question on a multiple choice test, conferring with his own independent study student, or as chairman of the independent study committee, talking with a student about the program's requirements, chatting with a student about a college essay or recommendation, corresponding via email or telephone with a concerned parent. And then the bell rings and the school day begins. Just watching him makes me tired. His English partner for many years, I have given up suggesting that he slow down. He never will. He knows and cares about each child as if he or she were his own. And to each child he gives his attention, his affection, his time. They seek him out, skip lunch to meet with them. He always offers them a corn muffin. They know their teacher will never be too busy to teach them. In fact, they see him as a fellow student as much as they see him as their teacher, and they simply love to study with him. Mike Batchelor, fellow nominator, says it best. A scholar of history with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, Mark thrives on the day-to-day delivery of that knowledge to whatever groups of students are blessed to have him as their teacher. His scholarship is absolutely extraordinary in its depth and scope, as he is a genuine student of history. One of those blessed students, Caitlin Reimers, fellow nominator, describes perfectly the power of Mark Epstein. No other teacher has provided me with such a profoundly intellectual experience, with an impressive command of details and facts, which he of course dismissed as a mere necessity for the understanding of history. He introduced the word subjectivity into my intellectual experience. Never before had I been taught to make history my own. Yes, that's our Epi. That's his nickname, Epi. I don't recall when it started, but it certainly has stuck. It's catchy, it's familiar, it's a term of endearment. The name itself brings a smile, and that's how it should be. For Mark Epstein is the funniest guy around. Kids and colleagues are drawn to his wonderful sense of humor. Every year during the first weeks of school, I wait for our freshmen to tell me about the nicknames Epi has conferred on them. Every year I listen to them tell me that he's a serious coffee drinker, if only he'd try it with a corn muffin. They buy him mugs, hide his mugs and leave ransom notes, even have their parents on the lookout for interesting pieces to add to his collection. Walk by his room any period and hear the laughter, and know that along with all that joy comes a rigorous course with the very highest standards. Perhaps my favorite Epi story says it all. Many years ago, we took our 50 not planning to major in history sophomores on a field trip to Sunnyside Restoration. As we slogged through the muddy herb garden in the pouring rain, led by guides in authentic costume, we whispered to one another that we might have made a mistake. When we heard the guide ask our students if they had any questions, and one responded with, "How far is the Burger King from here?" we knew we would not be repeating the trip. Well, Burger King was just around the corner, and at last our kids were engaged by the cuisine and by the miniature cameras that came with their lunches. Checking my watch for the 1,000th time, I finally announced that we would be leaving when, much to my horror, the driver announced we had a slight problem. The bus wouldn't start. 2 hours later, we were still sitting there. Exhausted by the day, I closed my eyes for just a moment in an attempt to rest, but not Epi. As he posed for 50 camera shots, he talked of Sunnyside, herb gardens, and history. "Man," said one of our kids, "how come you're always teaching us?" "That's what I do," he said with a smile as he finally finished his cheeseburger. Now he could just get to that corn muffin. Here's Mark Epstein.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Kathy, thank you for reading that exactly as I wrote it. I would like to begin by thanking the Distinguished Teacher Awards Committee for selecting me, and I am honored in every sense of the word. Galileo once said that if he had seen things clearly, it's because he had stood on the shoulders of giants. In my over 18 years at Greenwich High School, I have worked with and met a number of intellectual and professional giants. There are 3 individuals, however, that have played a profound role in my personal development as a teacher. One you just heard from, Kathy Barnes, Michael Batchelor, and Chris Kazanis. They have all preceded me to this honor. All are distinguished in every sense of the word. They are my friends, colleagues, my guidance, and inspiration. I am before you this afternoon because of their influence and encouragement. Over the years, I've also been fortunate to teach some absolutely wonderful young people, and some of them are in the audience today. Among the very best, however, is Caitlin Reimers, who, along with Kathy Barnes and Mike Batchelor, recommended me for this award. I don't know if Caitlin is here yet. She's not. Caitlin, to say that you are a remarkable young woman would not do justice to your scholarship, your integrity, and intellect, and I thank you very much. I know my 1 minute is up, but since Kathy took 9, I'll just take on a very, if I may just make one personal comment. When I was a teenager, I asked my father if he could do his whole life over, what would he do differently, and he said that he would be probably a teacher. About 5 months ago, my father suffered a very serious stroke, and it's been a very difficult time, as you could imagine. When I told him that I was the recipient of this award over the phone, my father was not a particularly emotional person. I could hear his voice crack. And so I've already thanked a number of people, but I'd like to thank an absolutely outstanding, distinguished teacher in every sense of the word, Dad, this is for you. Thank you.
Sarah Pirelli-Linetti will introduce Courtney Hawes.
In a sea of good teachers, I never knew what a great teacher was until I had Courtney Hawes for Modern World Literature my junior year. My first impression of Miss Hawes was that of incredible energy. No matter what she was faced with, from second semester seniors of varying levels of interest and ability to apathetic juniors like myself hiding in the back of the classroom, Miss Hawes always gave of herself to the highest degree. Her enthusiasm for literature was inspiring. Miss Hawes was able to engage her students at a level of discussion that I've never before seen in a high school English class. Perhaps at first more of an observer in classes than a participant, I was witness to discussions that forced students to really think. From my post of silent watcher, I found myself engaged in what my classmates were saying and eager to add my own thoughts to the mix. It was in Miss Hawes' classroom where I finally felt comfortable enough to share my opinion. I think the greatest thing a teacher can do for a student is to make them care about the subject they are teaching. Miss Hawes made me truly care about English, and above all, she taught me how to enjoy great literature. That semester, I was at a particularly difficult time in my life. One thing that makes Miss Hawes such an incredible person and teacher is her ability to reach out to students both within the classroom and outside of it. She offered to meet with me after school to help me with an upcoming project, and I accepted. What started out as a simple gesture became a weekly ritual, and working with Miss Hawes gave me a confidence that extended far beyond my writing. I was hardly her best student, but that did not stop Miss Hawes from treating me like I was. Her standards do not alter for anyone. She demands from each student their personal best and makes them want to achieve it. Miss Hawes does much more with her students than to make them care about English. She also challenges them with it. Her classroom was always a welcoming, intellectual environment where students felt comfortable in the high-level discussions taking place. Her giving personality and energy made classes exciting, and each student that she taught emerged at the end of the semester not only a better writer, but a stronger thinker as well. Miss Hawes reached out to me because she saw that I needed someone to care about what I thought about each book, what I felt about the discussions. It has now been over a year since I was in her classroom, yet Miss Hawes and I remain friends. She was the first teacher who made me believe in what I could do as a student, and she forced me to be satisfied with nothing but my best. I nominated Miss Hawes for the Distinguished Teachers Award because she's the first teacher who made me feel like she cared. And when I think ahead to which teachers I want to stay in touch with when I leave for college, she's the first that comes to mind. She deserves this award for the confidence she gives students in English and their writing, and the challenges she presents to their minds. It is therefore my honor and pleasure to present to you Courtney Hawes.
That's why I get out of bed in the morning. Thank you, Sam. W.B. Yeats wrote, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Thank you to the Distinguished Teacher Committee for reminding us why we light the fire, for recognizing all of us, both here on stage, those in the audience, and all of those not yet recognized, because we are the fire. We inspire students to become lifelong learners, and it is through our passion and our enthusiasm that they do that. I hope every one of you one day has a student like Sarah. She loves learning, thrives on challenge, and is inquisitive. Sarah, I hope that one day I can pass the torch of teaching on to you. Thank you to Don Strange, who in a beautiful letter reminded me why he is my mentor. His faith and inspiration challenged me to become the best that I could. Thank you to my Bella family. Janet McKenzie wrote a beautiful and inspiring reminder of why I do what I do. I hope someday to be the teacher that you are. Whether it's at Western or Greenwich High School, I'm surrounded by excellence. I thank all of you for coming today. Teaching is a privileged position that demands humility as much as respect. It is crucial that teachers recognize the power inherent in our role and are self-reflective about our actions. In my teaching, I work to be mindful of my position as a role model of the kind of learning and living that I strive to promote among my students. I try to light the fire every day in my classroom, in my life, and they do the same for me. Thank you.
Louise Williamson will introduce Brenda Macri.
I am honored to be able to present Mrs. Brenda Macri to you as one of this year's distinguished teachers. Not only am I a parent of one of her former students, Stephanie had her last year in first grade, I am also a colleague. I first met Brenda when I came to Greenwich in 1984 as a kindergarten teacher. I had always hoped that one of my children would be in her class. Well, it wasn't until my third child, but the wait was worth it. As a colleague, I knew Brenda was organized, professional, and highly respected. But I learned many more wonderful things about her when I became a parent. She is a master at individualizing instruction, and she is able to meet all of the children's needs in her classroom. She also has a very warm and inviting and exciting classroom for her children and for the parents as they enter each day into their classroom. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Mrs. Brenda Macri.
Thank you. I can't tell you how exciting it has been to be selected as a distinguished teacher here in Greenwich. I am honored to be included among a wonderful group of educators who have attained such a high degree of excellence in our profession. There are a number of people I would like to thank. First, Mr. Rothstein and the Distinguished Teacher Committee, Dr. Leverett and the members of the Board of Education for supporting the Distinguished Teacher Program. Thank you to Louise and Joe Williamson for their persistence in my nomination. Your fabulously kind words touch my heart. Also to my good friend Terry Coletti, who initially suggested I was a distinguished teacher material. Additionally, I'd like to thank Jerry Patrizzi and Dominic Gutierrez, whose guidance and support as administrators allowed me to develop my teaching and imagination and creativity in my classroom. I would also like to thank the entire Coscob School staff for their continued support and collaboration, and I know one day you will all be up here as well. I would like to especially thank my dear friends and colleagues Cynthia Sherwin and Janet Strobel. To Cynthia, I thank you for the synergy we had together in second grade. It was magic. And to Janet, I learned so much from you when we taught together at Hamilton Avenue. You are truly a distinguished teacher. Thank you. To all the students and their parents who have, over the years, walked through my door, I thank you for your confidence and support. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for letting me be part of your lives. Last but not least, I thank my family. To my mom, Debbie Purdy, who always saw the teacher in me, even at the age of 6 when I taught my youngest sister the alphabet. To my children, Christopher and James, who day after day helped me to be a better teacher. And to my loving husband, John, who for 20 years has encouraged me to become the educator I am today. Teaching young children to read, write, add, and subtract is a passion for me, a passion that has grown, developed, and matured since my first class 19 years ago. My classroom has always been a comfortable, child-friendly environment that has elicited interest and curiosity from all those who have entered. I truly believe that every child can learn. I continually look to my students with my own desire to learn and am rewarded every day when they walk in with a smile and their inquisitive minds. I am encouraged at the end of the day when they leave my classroom with that same smile and excitement for learning. Over the years, my students and I have journeyed together to create in them and me lifelong learners. Thank you so very much.
Sue Stoga and Sarah Courtney will co-introduce Karen Reardon.
I was on a committee that interviewed and then recommended the hiring of Karen Reardon. And I remember that when she left the room, one of the administrators leaned forward, looked at the rest of us and said, "Shall I run out to the parking lot and stop her before she gets in the car?" We knew we had found quality. Her original assignment as a special education teacher changed as the years went by. And Karen had a vision. She wanted to do more. She wanted to reach out to the regular education students in the building who were struggling, who needed additional support. So she pitched the idea to our building administrator, Dr. Bulger. He bought it, and Achieving Independent Motivation was born. Personally, I've learned a lot from Karen. Her professionalism, her enthusiasm, her willingness to help, and it's just been an honor to be her colleague.
Sorry. Miss Reardon definitely made my 8th grade year a memorable one. She helped me become a better student with determination, dedication, patience, and kindness, which she showed to us every day. She encouraged us to do our best, and that is why it is my pleasure to introduce Miss Reardon. First, I just want to say that I really look at this award as a tribute to the program that myself, along with all of my colleagues at Central on every single grade level, have created. The program would not work without everyone's input, their insights, and their support. We work as a team at the middle school level, and sometimes it's really hard to recognize every member of the team. Without going into the details of the program, just please know that the hard work and dedication of every single classroom teacher is what makes the program work, and the backing of the administration for supporting the program. Two things. One, want to thank my parents who are here. They worked hard their whole lives so that my sister and I could go to college and get an education, and it's not to be taken for granted. And through that, I was able to find something that I believed in and that I loved, and that's allowed me to be independent and happy. And I guess for my students, I think it's really important. I heard a lot about happy smiles walking in the doorway, and that's wonderful. That's not my room, though. Ultimately, hopefully, we see that. We don't in all cases, but we do in a lot. And for those of you who haven't struggled, struggling is tough, and days can be long. And when you're in pain or when you're in doubt, and everybody has felt that, and when it's magnified, these kids need our help, they need our support. The mainstream teachers want to reach out to these kids. We just need to back up the mainstream teachers so that our students, who are totally precious, can take advantage and find a place in the world. I think sorry. I just want to thank people that started out with me, Brian Mahar, Jane Pearl, who taught me we can work through anything if we can get past that first year in the district. That was rough, but we're all set now. And I guess the greatest thing, which I really appreciate, is that I never thought I would be receiving any sort of public award. I'm a straight shooter, I'm direct. I don't candy coat anything, and typically I just thought, oh, well, I'm just out of the running for this. And I wanted to thank my colleagues and the administrators for tolerating those shortcomings in the good of the program. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Michelle Marsh could not be with us today, so that Sandra Mond will be introducing Medard Thomas.
Michelle Marsh has a news broadcast at this time, so she's sorry she couldn't be here, and she's asked me to. Before I begin the introduction, I would really like all the students that have been touched by Mr. Thomas to please rise, or raise your hand. It is because of the effect you've had on these students that you're receiving this award. The day Medard Thomas came to interview, we knew it was a match. Through his interview, we could tell that he had a great understanding of literacy, assessment, and flexible grouping. He also had a child-centered vision of how he saw himself as a facilitator of exciting learning in the classroom, where high academic and behavioral expectations were set for his students. Medard enthusiastically began his teaching career at Parkway School. And in the 7 years of Medard's experiences at Parkway, we have never been disappointed. He has grown from being a beginning teacher with vision to being a star teacher worthy of the title Distinguished. Michelle Marsh writes, "Perhaps what impresses me the most is the foundation he's giving the children to become good people in a multicultural world. A class mission was determined early in the year, that being that of harmony. Individual missions were then established by each child, exceedingly personal goals which ranged from working harder on your worst subject to helping raise money for a dying friend's medical treatments. The class camaraderie this year defies description. They have a wonderful role model for their character building. Medard Thomas is the son of Haitian immigrants and the first person in his family to graduate from college. He sets goals and accomplishes them. The children see that and draw strength from it. Mr. Thomas can be described as one big hug. Every student in the school knows Mr. Thomas and is eager to shake his hand or get one of his high five or one of his hugs. Team leader, team player, professional developer, consummate educator, and a bit of a mischievous person. All these describe Mr. Thomas. Teaching is a skill, an art, and a passion for Mr. Thomas. He has chosen his career with enthusiasm, talent, and love. He has earned the title of Distinguished Teacher in the Greenwich Public Schools. May I present to you Mr. Thomas.
Comments. Standing before you makes me feel like an American Idol. Seriously, one more gushing comment and I just might break into song. Dr. Leverett, Senator Nickerson, members of the board and this committee, colleagues, family members, and my extended Parkway School family, I graciously and humbly accept this award. To receive such recognition in this town is an incredible honor. When it comes to teaching, Greenwich is the place to be. Now, our system is not perfect. We're not always in agreement with one another. Report cards, assessments, budget cuts, new curriculum are topics that tend to separate us into factions. However, through it all, we all share one basic and fundamental vision. That is to provide every single child in this system with only the best education, thus making them valued members of this changing society. That vision is what sustains us every single day. That's right, folks. We're not perfect, but we are the best. I would like to thank some special people in my life right now. My mother and father-in-law, two fantastic teachers in New York. Thank you for loving me and treating me as your own. I'd like to thank Joanne Zammit for taking me under her wing and teaching me everything from contracts to Yiddish. I'd like to thank Michelle Marsh for her nomination and Jacqueline Massey for seconding along with Dr. Mond. I'd like to thank the Parkway staff. Those are the most gifted people who model superb teaching and teamwork on a consistent basis. I learn from them daily, whether it's running a good PPT with Jeannie and Dr. Rao, or appreciating Shakespeare with Joe. It's my honor to be surrounded by the best collection of professionals. I'd like to thank our leader, Sandy Mond, who took a chance on that 23-year-old from New York City 7 years ago. You are an exemplar of judicious and compassionate leadership. My family, I'd like to thank my siblings for always putting up with me and loving me 97% of the time. I'd like to thank my parents who came to this country with one dream, and that was to provide us with only the best. They've made everything in my life possible, and I'm standing here because of them. I'd like to recognize a beautiful girl I fell in love with in college and eventually married. Christine, you're my dream and my life. I really am nothing without you. And finally, behind every good teacher, there's a great class. I've been touched by so many little lives. This honor bestowed upon me is because of you. Therefore, I dedicate this award to you, my sunshines, my students. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
It is truly energizing to celebrate all of the outstanding attributes that these teachers represent. Congratulations to each of you. You have ignited an excitement for learning in the lives you have touched, and you have given your students the capacity to make a better tomorrow. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Leverett to say a few words.
Thank you, Don. This is an incredible experience that is inspiring and encouraging. To have an SRO room in celebration of distinguished teachers recognizes the importance that this community places on education. That in and of itself is worthy of celebration and acknowledgement. I'd like to thank Don Ratzine and the members of the Distinguished Teachers Awards Committee for providing the leadership in this area for 18 years. And for acknowledging the important role that teachers play in the development of our young people and in the sustaining the vision of our schools. Greenwich has a special vision, a unique vision. The vision of the Greenwich Public Schools is to reflect the standard of excellence in public education. I don't know if there are any finer exemplars of excellence than the 6 people, the professionals that we have come to recognize here today. I have found your example to be personally inspiring, that your commitment to scholarship, your commitment to leadership, your commitment to collaborating with your colleagues in schools, the high expectations that you hold for both yourself, the profession, and the children are all just wonderful examples of what our teachers do in the Greenwich Public Schools. We have an excellent group of people working with our children, and the 6 people standing before us, seated before us today, represent just the tip of the iceberg of a very strong, powerful group of education professionals who work in our classrooms every day to increase the performance and the success of our children. I look forward to continuing the conversation with distinguished teachers of 2003 and invite a conversation with the many distinguished teachers from the 18 years that have been recognized by this awards committee. I think that there might be something that we can learn from each other through inquiry and dialogue. And we would like to work with you to establish that time for that shared inquiry and learning into what makes for the best possible teaching and learning situation for our children, and help us to infect the entire organization with all the qualities and attributes that you and your colleagues represent. Thank you very much for what you did.
Thank you, Dr. Leverett. And now we come to that part of the program that I personally have always felt to be one of the most important aspects, and that's the concluding remarks from the Chairman of the Board of Education. I'm happy to introduce Sandra Waters, the Chairman of the Board.
On behalf of the Board of Education, I want to thank the Distinguished Teacher Committee for helping us celebrate the best in teaching in our schools, and to congratulate the distinguished teachers of 2003. As we know, the quality of the relationship between a student and his or her teacher is the primary determinant of a good education. Good teachers do far more than deliver the curriculum. In addition, they differentiate instruction to their students' particular needs and abilities, and educate them all to their highest level of academic potential. In education, one size does not fit all. Differentiating instruction is difficult. It demands not only familiarity with the curriculum, but also a teaching toolbox with a variety of instructional strategies. Attitudinally, it requires sensitivity to student motivation and progress, and the flexibility to change teaching approach when necessary to achieve results. Imagine how this could be done with just one student, and then how much more difficult it is to accomplish with 20 or more. Because good teachers unlock the creative and intellectual talents of all of their students, they merit special distinction. On behalf of the citizens of Greenwich, for whom the Board of Education acts, I thank them for their invaluable contribution to our children and our society. I want to thank you all for coming. I hope you will join me now in greeting this year's distinguished teachers in the reception to follow. Thank you.